my screen and take you through our platform called Upskill at Instill. In short, we call it Upskill. I'm going to take you on a journey on that. Okay, so what the beauty about what we've created so far. So Upskill is not new. It's been going on since early this year. We've already like onboarded, done a pilot, of 300 teachers across South Africa that have interacted and engaged with our content. So the beauty with Upskill is that it's got a single sign-on login. So people can use their Gmail accounts, they can use their Google accounts to log in. So I'm going to log in with our dummy student, student number 2, and take you through what our platform looks like. Okay, so in terms of our platform, think of it as a Netflix or a Showmax, but for teacher education and teacher professional development. So it's designed in such a way that it will interact almost like you've got your genres, and when you've watched something, it pops up in the moment you log into your platform. And yeah, so it's sort of designed like a Netflix Showmax kind of thinking behind it. So where we are right now, this is your homepage. So when you log in, you will land on the homepage. And how we've designed the content in our homepage is that we design things called pathways. So we've got teacher pathways and school leader pathways. And what pathways are a journey. We realize that skills, or for someone to get competencies and skills, they can't just do one aspect of it. They actually, skills build onto each other, they scaffold onto each other. So what you will find in a pathway is that you will start with one section, but then it builds up. And by the end of the pathway, our hope is that either teachers, students, or school leaders would have mastered certain competencies and a set of skills to be able to say, oh, wow, I understand what a meaningful classroom is. So just to give you some ideas of some of the pathways we've created so far, we've got a meaningful, fostering a positive and meaningful classroom culture. We've got engaging all learners. So there you would engage with various engagement strategies and techniques. We've got supporting students in remote learning environments. And you can see there we started already with this one. We've got lesson planning, checking for understanding, purposeful reteaching, and we've got one school leader pathway. So as an organization or as a district, you can then get your teachers, get your students, and under a certain pathway. And when they are registered on our platform, they will be able to then, when they log in, be able to see what pathway they registered in and go through that pathway in a sequential manner. So that's the beauty of it. So each pathway then has a set of modules that I will take you through in a moment. And the whole point of this is really much to, first of all, to upskill and empower our teachers or our learners. With that, learning does not stop when you graduate. Learning does not stop when I finish my degree. That actually learning is continual. And so this is a platform that allows for that independence. As I've mentioned, as an organization, you can come to Upskill and say, we would like our teachers, for example, to do checking for understandings, and your teachers or your students will be enrolled then into that particular pathway. So I'm going to show you a glimpse of what happens when we are inside one of our modules. I will look at engaging all learners, and we're going to go through some of the sections of cold calling, engaging all learners through a cold calling technique. So when you get to our platform, what you will find is that the module is organized in a very systematic manner. And the reason for that is that we really hold high on the concept of deliberate practice. One of the things that I found out when I was a teacher is that as much as I can teach my student the theory at university, the PRs, the psychology, the teaching theories, it's about how they can apply that. And often I found that only beside my more technical subjects such as the sciences and educational technology, students never had opportunity to really apply and say to myself, how does this translate when I come to a classroom and implement it? So what we've designed our modules in such a way that every single aspect you get a moment to practice. We call them mini practices or mini planning that you will engage to sort of reflect back on, if I was in the classroom right now, or if this is what my classroom, how can I do this skill? How can I think through this in a real practical sense? So we've really designed our modules in such a manner. So most modules will have this sort of set template of welcome, sort of an introduction to the module. You get to see other teachers in action, either modeling that particular skill, engaging with that particular skill, on sometimes not getting the skill correct and just engaging with some of those aspects. And then a bulk of our module is comprised of the steps to master that particular technique. So here then, it's if you want to master how to do a proper cold call in your classroom, you have to follow these 4 steps. And within each step, there's sort of a sequence that you go through in analyzing and understanding how to then master this step. But our biggest sort of golden goose would be the practicing aspect, that when you do our modules, there is a point where we force you to say, now apply this into your own school. You've now gone through the content. Think about, if you were to go in tomorrow in your classroom, how can you do this? How can you implement this immediately inside your school? And at the end of our module, then you do a bit of a reflection and then an exit ticket, and you share feedback with us so that we can continually improve what we offer. So I'm going to take you quickly in give you sort of a glimpse of what a See It section looks like. So often a See It starts with an introduction and of what mode or model or example you will be encountering with. So in this case, we are using sort of a 1-minute video of a South African teacher reinforcing certain expectations during a cold calling, using cold calling as a technique. Immediately after that, you will engage with a bit of a reflection interaction, and then there is a debrief. So besides just you watching it, we also consolidate, this is what you should have gotten from what you just seen. So this is what cold calling looks like in action. There's a little bit of an interaction to sort of check for your understanding. And then after that, we sort of give you a bit of a debrief. And after debriefing, as I've mentioned, every section of our module then asks you, for example, to sort of think about it in your own classroom. So if we go on slide 6 here, there's a question that says, what are some of the things you do to make cold calling a positive experience in your class? That is now specific to your context. So we've now removed you from just thinking about it from teacher Dumapi to now contextualize and say, okay, now let me think about this in my own classroom. But another thing we do in particular in our See It is also to talk about some of the anxiety and sort of get those anxiety out of the way at the beginning of the module. So what are some of the things that you're anxious about doing cold calling for your own learners? And to actually, by the time we get to the feedback, to check if you still have those particular anxieties or whether there's other pressures that are arising. So that's essentially how a See It component is organized. So then you go back to your course home. In a normal sequence, you would have just followed the next tab, but because I'm jumping around, I just want to give you a glimpse of what each section sort of looks like. So then you go to the bulk of the module, which is now the meat of the actual module. So the steps, how do I master cold calling? So it's so easy for someone to say, okay, use cold calling in your classroom, use this strategy in the classroom, use, these are techniques for good classroom management. And then you walk away and say, but how do I do it? How do I implement this? So I'm going to take you through one of the steps. So this is a sub-step of how to achieve cold calling. So how these steps are organized is that we give our participants an opportunity to explore what this sub-step or sub-skill within the step the step is. Let's explore what it is. After exploring it, you will go, as you can see here, you go through sort of some reflection questions, and some sort of like some of the things that you should think of and be considering. So as you saw in the C8, we used a video, and we understand in South Africa or any other country, African country, that videos are quite high in terms of data usage. So one of the things that we started doing is then we use other modes besides videos. We create our own comics. So we create comics, we do case studies, we do pictures, we do just small narrations or stories that we put on our platform that are very low bandwidth and that people can engage with. So in the exploring, you explore what this particular step is all about. It could be a good exploration or a bad exploration, but the whole point is for you to explore and see how this can pan out in an actual classroom. So after exploring it, you get sort of a check for understanding or a debriefing, or sort of let's think about this, let's go deep about this. From the exploration, what did you get? From analyzing this case study, what did you actually achieve? And after that, we then do a bit of a debrief, in particular in relation to that. And then what then happens is now that, for example, in slide 10, we start to explain what is the main features of keeping things predictable in a cold calling technique. Then we start unpacking those aspects to say, okay, this is how you actually need to know. These are the things, the features you want to know, and you should know when you're working with this particular step of the technique. So one of the things then, once we've done the explanation, is now time for you to apply it to your own classroom. So we call these mini practice and mini planning, and they are guided by a rubric. So we give you a simple rubric to say, if you were to achieve this particular step to be proficient, this is what, as a teacher, you should be able to do or be able to achieve. And then teachers, then you will be able to then answer in relation to your own classroom and say, if I was doing this in my class, this is how it will apply to me. So that's literally most of our steps, how they are organized. So they really follow sort of a similar format. But here's the crux of our modules, is that at the end of each module, towards the end, you get time to practice. Now, this is a big practice to say, okay, if you didn't get anything from the welcome to all the steps, here's a short template of saying, now think about applying cold calling into your own classroom. So, for example, with this sort of practice is that you're asking you to script your own cold calling rollouts in the template, and there's a template there that you can download and then fill it in. And after doing that is to actually share an audio recording of your practice. And that's the beauty of this. I'm going to show you some of the features quickly of what you can do in terms of submissions, that it doesn't always have to be an essay. It could be as interesting. You can take a video of yourself teaching a particular concept, showing a particular concept, and how you will implement it in your own school. You can also, in this case, for cold calling, we ask teachers to actually record their script and say, if I was doing this tomorrow with my learners, what would I say? Just 4 minutes. Say you can upload it immediately directly into the platform, or alternatively, you can record it and then upload it, as you can see here at the bottom. You can then upload that recording. But this is the crux of what teacher education should be about, is that to walk away saying, okay, how can I apply this immediately in my classroom tomorrow? So what's interesting then, after going through the entire module and doing the feedback, is that it shows you a little, there's a progress bar at the top here that shows you which sections you've completed, and which ones, the orange one then shows you those are the sections you still have to do. So once you engage in the module, if I go back to, let me go back to the home page. What the beauty of this is that students or whoever the cohort that's enrolled is able to then gain certain certificates and certain badges. So let's take a look at our student 2. The student 2, you're able to see what modules you are enrolled in. So you're able to see your progress within those modules. And then the details, then you're able to now see that, oh, if I've earned a certain badge or I've completed a certain, I've attained a certain certificate, then it will appear here when you click my certificates. So one thing to let you know is that all our modules are SACE endorsed. So that's really great, especially for teachers or organizations trying to get their teachers to get their SACE points, CPD points. Then you can do this module and then you can accumulate these, and this will be automatically sent to SACE and you get endorsed and they will be added to their database. So then a student is able to see that here in the front. And then another amazing feature is that we've got a messaging chat. You can see what group chats are happening, or you can also private chat. So you can see what privately, you can talk to someone, your lecturer, your whoever is a facilitator. You can leave messages for particular people as well. And we also have notification bar, which then Intel tells us of any notifications or any badges you've earned, any messages that are going on in the platform. So for example, if there's a new pathway available, you are able to now see that message and click on it and say, oh, I would like to see what this new pathway is. Another fun and interesting feature is that you've got a calendar. In most institutions, calendars are usually controlled from the lecturer's perspective or the teacher's perspective. Here, you can actually go to a date and create events on a particular date, as well as embed certain meetings, such as through Teams or Zoom, that you can then hold them inside the platform. So you don't even have to do them outside the platform. But at the end of the day, the whole point of this platform is to really empower teachers. It's to really empower people to say, you know, if I'm really stuck and I don't know what to do, I can come here, learn on my own, and then interact with other people who are part of the same, doing the same pathway or in the platform, and ask questions about it. But also the beauty of it is you can upload things. You can upload your own artifacts. You can really practice. One example of through our pilot is that a newly qualified teacher did this cold calling section 11 times. They did a recording 11 times until they could perfect it. And the next day they were able to go in the classroom and implement it. So in short, I'm going to leave it there and say upskill and instill. And I would love to, before we go into questions and answers, just to get some of your thoughts in relation to the view of what the platform is and what it can do. Is that how can this meet your needs in your own organization as an individual? What would you like to see that you think maybe the platform is lacking? And who in your own organization do you think will be suited to use this? Thank you so much, Patience, and that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much for that, Annie. Sounds like Uber learning going on there. I'm sure in the question and answer section, people can actually offer your comments on the platform as well. So we are open for some questions and answers.